Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Bonafide Investing, where we talk all things high yield investing, options, futures, and really investment goals in general. If you're new to the channel, welcome. To give you a little bit of background about what we're doing here, I have been experimenting with high yield investment strategies for about 1.5 to 2 years now. I have owned hundreds of closed end funds, ETFs, just kind of experimenting just to see, what this high yield investing journey kind of looks like, right? And I've narrowed it down to about 15 to 20 holdings that I like for different reasons that have helped me build what I call an all-weather high yield portfolio that I've called Cash Flow Life here. That helps me both, number one, pay my bills, and number two, maintain and pay down my margin over time. I have brought over about 20 to 25% of my net worth into this, so I take it very seriously. I also use some of my available margin to accomplish these goals as well. Please hit like and subscribe. If you like what we're doing here, please help support the channel. What we do here is not investment advice, not now, not ever. Although I was once a financial advisor, I am not responsible for any of your wins. I'm not responsible for any of your losses. What I want to do today, I want to talk about, is cash really trash? Okay. This is a topic. I had coffee with a really good friend, somebody I really respect and enjoy conversation with. And she was telling me, we just started talking about the CPI, and we got some good conversation. She actually brought up a lot of good points, but one thing that I think she and I agreed on, and I think many people agree on, is that the CPI is the CPI. It's so cliche at this point. Nobody really trusts it. So I want to look at, I want to talk about, is cash trash? Is cash trash in a high yield portfolio? And I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments after today. So is cash trash? I am in the cash is trash camp. I'll just be very straightforward on that. I think over the long term, cash will, eventually the fiat will eventually go to zero. Every fiat currency dies. I think the US dollar will continue its decline, but I think a lot slower than a lot of maybe gold bugs or anti-dollar people, they're biased what they believe. But I think the dollar will keep continuing to go down in purchasing power in value over time. However, when is cash beneficial, right? So I think that we forget, it's been a long time since, 2008, 2009. I think we even have short memories back to 2020, where when deflationary, spikes come, cash can be an okay place to be. It helps you scoop up bargains, right? When things go on sale, you can buy quality assets at much better prices. I dollar cost average back into Cash Flow Life each and every market day, right? $200 every market day into different ETFs and closed-end funds. And I do that to protect my purchasing power, right, from inflation. I'm buying income every single day, right? So I also hold an SGov position, which might not make a lot of sense. I really do think that, holding cash in a high yield strategy isn't always the best thing to do, especially if you're starting out. I would recommend never holding cash in a high yield strategy if you're starting a small account. Again, not financial advice, just that's what I would do. I wouldn't hold it. The reason I hold SGov, it's the only holding in here that yields less than what I pay on margin. Okay, it yields about 3.5% to 4%. I'm paying 4.5% on margin, but I do it as a stabilizer, right? It was originally 10% of the allocation goal. I've added some other ETFs for different reasons. But, if and when the next deflationary pulse comes, I'm going to deploy SGov. I'm going to put it to work in the high yield strategy into something that, I think has been beaten down and is a much better price than what it's at now. So dollar cost averaging at these higher prices isn't as good in my mind, right? Because I feel like I'm buying near top. So whether it be equities, and now I think even gold, right, is getting up there. So everybody hates cash. And that always makes me think maybe the dollar's due for an epic rally. Maybe we are on the cusp of that deflationary downfall that I think that is coming to the market. Okay. So again, I think, yeah, I do think cash is trash long term, but I think in the short term, if you are in cash, I think you can find opportunities when they arise. And again, there are not a lot of opportunities right now, in my opinion. So, um, we are not Warren Buffett, right? We're not close. He can sit in 350 billion plus cash and, weather any storm, sit out for years and years. But cash for life is my pension. This is my business. I can't sit on the sidelines, right? So I've got to be strategic. I've got to hedge cash for life. Okay. That's where my QQQ and SPY puts. I added another VXX call this week. I think volatility is going to pick up now. I was really surprised yesterday after the Fed meeting that there wasn't a lot of volatility, but I still think it's coming. I think it's coming in 2026. I've also, did some energy calls just to hedge. I think energy is one of those rare spots in the market where I think downside is very limited. And I think that energy is going to have a great 2026. So again, you want to be mindful of inflation. I've said in past videos, I own a large cache of I bonds, right? It's more psychological for me, right? I could pay my margin off with my I bonds. I don't want to. I like having that. And I realize I am not getting anything in I bonds that would offset inflation in any way, shape, or form. If you look, I think it's John Williams Shadow Stats. If you look at some of his work, I really like his work. Inflation realistically is probably double digits. I would say it's at least triple from what's reported, if not higher. I've kept track of my grocery bills for the past few years, and I'm a creature of habit. Okay, I like to, especially when it comes to food, Trader Joe's, grocery store, whatever. I buy a lot of the same things. I was looking over old, receipts and bills, and even accounting for variables like my kids are bigger, they eat more. I get that, but even adjusting for a lot of those variables, there's no way inflation is, I would say, not even is it accurate. It's not close to accurate. And I'm just taking one example. You can look at auto prices, home prices, insurance costs, and at the end of the day, it's almost laughable, right? But there's nothing we can do about it. So let's not complain about it, right? I say we find ways to better ourselves, irregardless of whatever data comes out. So I think cash can be a good spot. Now, if you ever ring the register, right, you sell something at a profit, that's awesome. If you have a fixed mortgage, even a fixed car payment that you're still not paying off for a few years, even if that cash gets eaten by inflation or opportunities don't come, you can always put that towards your auto payment. You can put that towards your mortgage to pay it down. See what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, if you have those good fixed costs, and I think good fixed costs would be like a mortgage or maybe margin used responsibly, those two areas, you can always put that cash into those, right? And in essence, you're not really losing purchasing power. You're losing opportunity cost, right? It could have been potentially growing or earning. But at the end of the day, you're not really, I think, losing purchasing power if you look at it from that perspective. And I think that helps. So again, I think it really comes down to personal preference. I think everybody should have just a little bit of cash, in my opinion, for emergency fund, rainy day, or whatever, right? Unexpected expenses arise, and we want to be able to account for those. So if you're doing a high yield strategy for starting out, I personally would not own something like SGov. I think it defeats kind of the whole purpose, especially if you're using margin. But I think once you get going, if used tactically, like again, mine is for more of an extra buffer across cash flow life, as well as, I'm going to deploy this if and when the time is right. So, but right now with, I think, so many assets near or at all-time highs, I don't mind being patient with just a little bit of this here, right? Again, just some of my thoughts on cash. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And yes, is cash trash? Absolutely. But I think if you take a step back and look at it from where could it be beneficial, right? I think that there are places that you can use cash for opportunities, right? So again, just a reminder that hit like and subscribe if you like what we're doing here. The more support I get here, the more videos I can turn out. Trust God first and foremost. Rely on math, rely on charts. I'll be making a video this probably next couple of days. I want to talk about just a portfolio update. I want to talk about another theory that I've been following for about a year and want to kind of give my thoughts on that. And also, please let me know in the comment section if there's anything else you want to hear, see, and we'll go from there. But hope you got something from the video. Have a great